Hi, my name is John Cooksey.
And I'm Bob Nagy.
Now, we are the hosts of an instructional video set called the Nikon D60 Made Easy, but today on the internet, we're going to be showing you some tips and tricks and neat things you can do with the Nikon D60.
Absolutely. What a great camera. Really had a good time playing with it so far, John.
Well, what do you got to show us?
Well, we've got all the major features and functions which I went and researched, which is the automatic dust cleaning feature on the camera. So when you turn it on and off, it's going to go ahead and go through a little routine over here, and you're going to see it on the back of the screen. And it actually uses a sort of a wind technology and other technologies to keep that sensor clean when you turn it on and off. And also, right under the eyepiece over here is something sort of keen. It is an automatic eye sensor, so when your eyeball comes and looks through the viewfinder, it turns off the display on the back of the camera. Infrared sensor back there, quite nice.
You know, most people don't realize. Let's look at the back of the camera there while we got it open.
Yeah.
You see that little round circle there? There's your aperture representation.
Right.
And this is good for two things. If you're not sure about when you reduce the aperture number, what happens to the hole, well, it's easy to remember. As you increase it up, it makes the hole smaller, bringing in less light. And as you use the mode dial on the back to turn it, and you bring the f-stop down.
And we're using that right there.
As you bring the f-stop number down, you're going to be getting more light into the camera, and that's a neat representation.
Right, so a nice mechanical representation. Plus, when you turn the mode dial on the top, it shows you a representation of that on the back, so you don't even have to look when you're turning the mode dial, and you pop it right into the next mode you want to use.
That's great. If you're in one of those positions that you can't look at the top of the camera on the ground or whatever, that could be handy. Now, let's suppose you mess everything up on this camera, and you have all the different things changed, and all of a sudden you just want to get back to normal, but you want to do it easy and fast. Isn't there a secret shortcut method?
There is a secret shortcut method. Now, let's take a look at the top of the camera over here. Some of these buttons have secondary features, and this one right over here, the D-lighting button, has a little green indication next to it. That's one of the buttons, and the other one is on the bottom left over here, the info button and zoom in button. It's got a little green dot.
So if you wonder what those two greens are, you'd have to push them together.
You got to push them both at the same time, and you got to hold them for a full 2 seconds, and then bam.
Boom.
It'll reset this all the way back to the factory settings and take all your custom stuff off. So if you really get lost in the woods setting the camera up, you can take it back.
Bob, I want to tell you something else neat about this camera. Do you know that if you have any kids or you like claymation and you want to make little animated things, that this camera will actually take a series of photos that you've had and create a small little movie with it, creating your own sort of claymation or actual stop-motion animation.
Absolutely. And of course, it's not happening. You're not going to go ahead and just sit there taking shot after shot. You take your shots, do your claymation moves, bop, 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 and then you go into the menuing system and it allows you to select the first and last image and execute.
In between, it makes a movie. Now, there's another great thing about this camera called active D-lighting, and this is amazing, bringing out the detail in the darker and lighter areas of the same picture, so you don't have to go do that in Photoshop later.
Yeah, something that's happened with digital technology is that really, the digital sensors don't have quite the latitude and digital contrast range that film has. So now, with this camera here, they have a special technology in the X-Speed processor to bring the details out of those shadow areas and also punch up the details in the high lighting areas.
We have an example here that we just took in the studio of the flowers in the studio.
Right.
And
so
show them before.
There's before and there's after. What a difference.
And you can see in the darker areas there's more detail, and it doesn't wash out the highlights in the light areas.
Exactly. We're preserving the detail in the high areas, and we're bringing out the shadow detail.
And the nice thing about this is you could use this either before you take the picture and leave it on permanently, or after you take the picture, you could apply it to your image. You don't have to be in raw mode or anything. It'll do it in any of the different modes with the active D-lighting. Now, there's another thing. As you guys know, you're out there doing a shot, and no matter what you do with your f-stop, your aperture, and what you do with your shutter speed, there's not enough light. So I always tell people, look, you might get a little more grain, but most likely you won't notice it if you bump the ISO from 200 to 400 or from 400 to 800. Now, you have to go back in the menus to boost the ISO, but I always want to get to the ISO real quick, and it helps me get more light in. So this is a great tip. Boost your ISO when needed. But without going into the menu items, let's create a shortcut using the function button on the side. Here's a little secret.
Right, and this is a little bit hidden and not easy to find. So right on the front over here on the function button, the default setting for this button, when you push it, is going to be selecting between self-timer mode and single shot mode.
So the button's easy to find.
Button's easy to find.
But getting it to do the ISO is a little tricky.
Because this button is programmable, and you can go ahead and set it. Say, well, I never use self-timer, but I'm always changing my ISO, so I really need to get that changed.
Which I am.
We're gonna go ahead and take the picture out of the camera, take a direct look over here, and when we navigate around with our little four-way controller, we got to go to the Setup menu, go to the right, go to the top one, CSM Setup menu, hit that, and be sure that you're not in Simple, which is the default mode on the camera, but you go to Full. And what this does is give you all of the possible options on your menu settings.
So if you're not in Full, you will not be able to use that function button for ISO or any of the other.
Right, because you'll go to the custom menu setting where you do it over here, and you'll go down and go, well, there's only 6 custom menu settings. But look, with Full, oh, no, there's a whole bunch more over here. And that second page is where you're going to find the function button. Hit the OK, and you're right over there. And, I happen to like to use it for ISO sensitivity.
So, yeah, me too. So that way you can go up your ISO, and if there's not enough light for a picture, you can change your ISO.
Right, and as soon as you hold that function button in and rotate the command dial on the back top right, bam, you're adjusting your ISO.
Okay, so let's try to adjust the ISO real quick right now. That it's in the function
Let me see
button.
the back of the camera. And basically, I'll pull this out of here. And so if we then just hold in the function button and rotate right here, you can see right there that that yellow marker, the ISO is changing.
ISO is changing. Now, this stuff is changing on the screen here only because of the light.
It's responding to the sensitivity of the camera.
That's not...
But bam, as soon as I press that, that setting turns yellow, and I'm now adjusting.
So if I want to set it, let's go to a real high ISO, 1600. Mm-hmm. Boy, if you're really in low light in a situation, there's 1600.
Right.
Tell them what high is.
Oh, high, really, they should have just put 32, but they put high one on there. I'm not sure why they do that, but basically it's just 32.
If you're really in dark light and you don't want to use a flash, or the flash is not doing to you, the high setting would be really fantastic for that.
Would.
Here's a few tips and tricks you learned in just 7 or 8 minutes here. You can imagine what you can learn in our 2 DVD set, which is 90 minutes each. So you have, 180 minutes full of packed information.
Right.
And it's well worth it. It's www.elitevideo.com. When you get the DVDs, the 2 90-minute DVDs, you have access to our private email, plus you can call if you have any questions. We're here for free support that's unlimited at no extra cost when you get the DVDs. I hope you learned about this, and make sure you look at our other YouTube or internet videos out there, because we have other tips and tricks for this camera plus a bunch of other cameras. In the meantime, we're going to go out and take some great pictures. Good to see you. My name's John Cooksey.
Bob Nagy.
And we'll see you soon.
Take care.